This is Optimal Living Daily Relationships, episode 82. How Do I Get Over My Ex? By Samantha Joel with scienceofrelationships.com. And I'm Joss Marie, your host and personal narrator right here on the Relationships edition of Optimal Living Daily. This is the show where I read to you every single weekday from some of the best relationship blogs around. I cover dating, marriage, family, parenting, breakups, and a ton of other relationship content. Today, I'll be reading a post about getting over an ex by Samantha Joel with scienceofrelationships.com. Moving on after a breakup can be super challenging, so go ahead and share this episode with anyone you know who may be battling with this. If you're using Apple Podcasts, you can share the episode by clicking on the 3 dots icon that is just to the right of the episode title and author, and then select Share Episode. You can choose to send it via text or email, whatever you prefer. And for those of you who are not listening through Apple Podcasts, you can share the show by simply sending our link to your friend. The link is oldpodcast.com/listen. And with that, let's get down to it and start optimizing your life. How Do I Get Over My Ex? By Samantha Joel with scienceofrelationships.com. Quote, my ex and I work in the same restaurant, and while we have different jobs there, we still have a lot of contact. We broke up 3 months ago after being together since last May. She was by my side while I battled testicular cancer, and we became really close. Since then, we have been hanging out pretty much the same amount as we did when we were together, and would occasionally hook up. This is my first real relationship and my first real breakup, so I'm not really sure how to handle myself, and working together just makes everything more complicated. I've recently come to the realization that I am better off without her, and don't want to get back together with her, but thinking about her with other guys is extremely unnerving. I don't want to become a crazy ex-boyfriend, and I need some advice. Please help. End quote. First of all, I have to say that I really sympathize with what you're going through. Breakups can be very hard, especially when you've developed a close bond. The upside is that you know for sure that you do not want the relationship to continue, and making that decision really is half the battle. The other half of the battle is moving on. I'm going to give you some tips on how to get over your ex based on what researchers know about attachment. Often, the hardest part about getting over a romantic partner is letting go of the person as an attachment figure. For example, a person who you rely on for validation and support. Having others who we can trust to be there for us is one of our most basic needs as human beings. But because these relationships tend to be so close and intimate, most people have only a handful of attachment-based relationships. Furthermore, many people have what we call a primary attachment figure, a person who they are more likely to rely on than others. And for people in romantic relationships, that primary attachment figure tends to be the romantic partner. Romantic partners generally make great attachment figures because romantic relationships tend to involve so much intimacy, closeness, and interdependence. Indeed, some researchers argue that the whole reason why human adults even have attachment systems is so that they can form these intense attachments to romantic partners. Given the tremendous strength of these attachment bonds, you can see why they can be difficult to let go of, even if a person knows that they do not want to be with their romantic partner anymore. You say that your ex was there for you during a particularly difficult period of your life. If that's the case, then it's quite likely that you've come to rely on her as an attachment figure. If this is the first real romantic relationship that you have had, then this is probably the first time you've experienced this sort of attachment to a romantic partner, which may be part of the reason why you're finding this breakup to be particularly difficult. If you're not sure if you still rely on your ex as an attachment figure, try this exercise. Imagine that something really distressing happens to you. You're upset and you don't know what to do. Who do you want to turn to for support? Now, imagine that you just won the lottery. Who do you most want to celebrate with? Was your ex the first person who came to mind? Both times? If so, then she is definitely still your primary attachment figure. It will be difficult to get over her until that is no longer the case. So if the problem here is attachment, then how do you detach? The best way is to replace your ex with other people whom you care about and may assume the role of primary attachment figure. In other words, train yourself not to rely on your ex by spending more time with other supportive people in your life instead. For example, research shows that parents, siblings, friends, and children can all make excellent attachment figures. So, visit your family, have lunch with an old friend. Remind yourself that your ex is not the only person in your life who you can feel close to, and you'll find yourself needing her less and less. It can also be helpful to get back into the dating world. This doesn't necessarily mean jumping into a new relationship right away. It's never good to rush love, and getting romantically involved with the wrong person can actually make you miss your ex more. But scouting out some new dating prospects and maybe going on a fun date now and then can really help to shift your romantic focus away from your ex and onto the new relationships that you can look forward to having when you're ready for them. Finally, it would be a very good idea for you to spend less time with your ex. You probably know this already, but all of the time spent hanging out and hooking up is just serving to prolong the breakup period. You're right that it isn't ideal that you have to work together. That will make it more difficult for you to set boundaries. But in my opinion, seeing her in a professional setting is manageable, especially given that your relationship isn't acrimonious. What you really need to try to avoid is doing attachment-related things together, which is anything where emotions run particularly high or low. You've had a crappy day and need to vent? Don't call your ex. Something amazing just happened and you can't wait to share it with someone? Don't call your ex. Try to find other people who can fill that space in your life instead, and it will really help you to move on emotionally. You just listened to the post titled, "How Do I Get Over My Ex?" by Samantha Joel with scienceofrelationships.com. Thank you to Samantha Joel for letting us share her valuable insight with you today. Samantha's research examines how people make decisions about their romantic relationships. This includes what sort of factors people take into consideration when they try to decide whether to pursue a potential date, invest in a new relationship, or break up with a romantic partner. And again, it's super easy to share our episodes with friends. So go ahead and share away because this episode may be just what your friend needs in order to move on from his or her ex. If you're using Apple Podcasts, you can share the episode by clicking on the 3 dots icon that is just to the right of the episode title and author, and then select Share Episode. You can choose to send it via text or email, whichever you prefer. And for those of you who are not listening through Apple Podcasts, you can share the show by simply sending our link to your friend. The link is oldpodcast.com/listen. And that's about all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you again for tomorrow's episode. It's all about comforting a friend in a time of crisis, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from incredible bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, Mark and Angel, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.